Hey there, happy Wednesday Guardians. Hope you guys are having a great day. So today we're going to talk about stats. So you finally got a hold of the core gameplay of Destiny. You've done a few quests, you've gotten a few exotics, you've done a few bounties here and there, and you finally want to make a build. And you want to know, well, what stat should I focus on? There's 6 stats, I don't know what any of them do. So that's the point of this video. Now, right off the bat, there are 2 main things you should know that are super important for stats. The first one is one stat governs your class ability, and it depends on what class you're playing. So right now I'm on Hunter. So Hunters, their class ability is a dodge. So I have different types of dodges. I have like Gambler's Dodge, which recharges my melee. Marksman Dodge reloads my weapon. Acrobat Dodge gives me Radiant, stuff like that. If you're on Titan, so Titans have barricades. You have like a Rallying Barricade. You have a Towering Barricade for more defense. And then Warlocks, the class ability is all about rifts. So setting down a rift and healing yourself, setting down a rift and empowering my weapon damage, stuff like that. So depending on what class you're playing at, a different stat is going to govern the cooldown of your class ability. So for Hunter, the mobility stat governs the cooldown of my class ability. So you can see I'm at 51 right now. So I'm at tier 5 for mobility, and it says reduces the cooldown of my class ability. If I was on Titan, this text for class stat would be down here for resilience. And if I was on Warlock, the text for my class stat would be down here on recovery. So that's a general theme, is depending on what character you're at, you definitely want to keep in mind, if you want a really short class ability cooldown, that stat, the appropriate stat, is going to govern that cooldown. So for Hunter, it's mobility. Now the second thing you need to know about stats, and this is arguably probably the most important thing that I would recommend for newcomers and people that are just confused about stats, is that resilience is the number 1 stat. It's the most important. So if anything, if you're not sure what to do, if you're not sure, oh, is this good stats? Is this going to help my build? Is this going to hurt my build? Just go for high resilience. So starting out, go for high resilience. You can't go wrong. More damage reduction is always good, and then you can slowly fine tune from there. So the way that the stats work for the levels and tiers are they go in increments of 10. So see how I'm at 92 here? So I'm at tier 9. Not from 90 to 99, that means I'm tier 9 resilience, which means I have whatever tier 9 is, which in this case is 27% damage reduction. And same thing here. So my recovery is at tier 5 because I'm at 52. So it would be the same even if I'm at 52, 51, 50, or 59. So that's really important to take into consideration. So you don't get any benefit for being 59 versus 50. Now, to break down the stats down the list, mobility increases my movement speed and maximum jump height. Mobility in general is not really an important stat to focus on, even for hunters. A lot of people will say that you really don't need to focus on mobility, and the reason being is there are a lot of things in the game that allow you to reduce your class ability for hunters. So mobility, even though it reduces the cooldown of your class ability, it isn't heavily prioritized. Resilience is your damage reduction. This is heavily prioritized. You should always go for high resilience when you can, especially when you're starting out, as you can take more damage. So recovery increases the speed at which you regain lost health. For me, this is my second priority. Almost 9 times out of 10, I go for high resilience and high recovery. This build doesn't have that, but I have other builds that do. Like this is a little better. Or my solar build. So recovery, how fast you heal. So your shield gets damaged and then your health bar will stay at a certain point, and your recovery dictates how many seconds can pass until you recover your health. So right now I'm at 43%. Your grenade cooldown, or your grenade stat, or discipline, I guess, governs how fast you get your grenade back. A lot of people focus on grenades because there's a lot of good grenade stuff you can do in the game. Intellect used to be a better stat. So intellect governs the cooldown of your super ability. So if you remember, super abilities are over here. Your big boom ability. Intellect used to be a lot more important than it is currently. Today, in the final shape 2024, intellect is heavily deprioritized. I would recommend not focusing on intellect. There's a lot better ways to get super energy, way easier, and having more points in intellect takes away from possible points in other stats. And then the last one is strength. Again, a lot of people don't really focus on strength because there's a lot of good ways to get melee back, but you can't go wrong if you like melee builds to put some points towards strength. So the way that the stats work for allocation, they're divided into two buckets. So you can basically draw a line in the middle here. So every armor in this game has random stats, random rolls, right? So the way that this works, there's a maximum stat allowed in the first top half, so mobility, resilience, and recovery. And then there's a maximum allowable stat in the second or the bottom half for discipline, intellect, and strength. In general, you can't go above a certain number. I believe it's 34, but don't quote me on that. It's 30 something. But you can't go above a certain maximum amount for that bucket. So the top half can't go above 30 something, and the bottom half can't go above 30 something. And then it evens out to what you get. So what that means basically is if you get an item with like high resilience, like say you have like 30 resilience, you're not going to also have 25 recovery because they're in the same bucket. So they share the same bucket, therefore they can't go above a certain amount. So when you're build crafting and you find out what you want to do, I would just slowly collect armor, know what you don't want, and don't worry about like, is this a good roll, is this a bad roll. In general, keep a lot of your armor until you kind of figure out what you want to do. If you see something that's just so terrible, like this is really bad, you can probably delete this unless you need it for the light level. 47 is an example of a super low overall stat allocation. What's considered decent as far as like the number, starting in like your high 50s and like your 60s for legendary armor. That's kind of what you want to look for. But again, it depends about the allocation, right? So if you have like an armor like this, so this says 52, but say for example you wanted a mobility and intellect build for some reason, I don't think it's that good, but if you wanted to do that, this is actually kind of up there with what you want, right? So go for what you want. Don't worry about the overall number too much, but at a certain point it does matter. Like this one, like 47 is just super low all around. There's a lot of better options. Additionally, masterworking. So every armor has an energy amount. So this is 1, which means I can equip 1 energy cost of mods. I'll talk about mods in a separate video, but when I masterwork an armor, you get a shiny gold border around it, and it also gives +2 to every stat. So if you see the bars and you see the little yellow bars, that means this item is masterworked, so it gives me +2. And you can do that for all your armor, including your exotics. So once you get into making a build that you like with an exotic that you like, keep that in mind. So if you're stuck at, like you have a really good build, right? Like you found the exotic that you want to use for now. Say you're a golden gun guy because you're super original, or you like other things like your falcons, you know, whatever you want to use. And then say your stats are like 70 here, like 50 here. Well, if you end up getting the materials to masterwork everything, you would actually bump your tiers up because you can get a total of 10. So you get 2 for each stat, right? And then if you multiply that by 5 armor pieces, that is a total possible of 10. So I masterworked all 5 pieces, which means each stat I have +10, which means my mobility went up. So with everything not masterworked, this would be 9, which wouldn't even hit tier 1. This would be 93, which would be back in tier 9. So those are examples of how the masterworking systems work. Masterworking is not too expensive for legendary. I believe to get it to 10, you need 1 golf ball or these things right here, these ascendant shards, which you'll get eventually. Masterworking exotics cost a little bit more. You need 3 ascendant shards, so keep that in mind. Don't worry about masterworking things in general until you really find like a build that you want to do, and also if it's close to like the stats you want to do. Like if you find a build and you're somehow like at 30 resilience, I wouldn't recommend like going ahead and masterworking those because it'll put you at 40, which still isn't really that good, right? In a separate video, I will cover mods, but for now, that is kind of how the stats work. I hope this helped. See you later.